Welcome everyone to the next lesson in Tarot. This is lesson number 3. We're going to be discussing the minor arcana. There are 4 suits, as I mentioned before, and they represent the 4 elements of fire, earth, air, and water. Now, our regular playing card deck suits came from the Tarot, and I have mentioned that as well. I always like to start with the wands. They're very vibrant, very up. And we're going to start with the ace. And anytime you see an ace, whether it be the ace of wands, ace of cups, ace of swords, ace of pentacles, it means the beginning of something new. It is a brand new start. And when an ace comes up, then you know that there's a new beginning in an area. So with the wands are ruled by the element of fire. So what this means is that there is something new on the horizon for the person getting the reading. This usually has to do with projects or enterprise. It could be someone starting their own business, or they could have a project of building their own home. But this is saying that this project is going to get started. It's brand new, and since it's upright, you know, here's the hand, you'll notice, and the thumb is pointing up. It's a very, very positive time. You have wood, but you also have leaves coming out. So the leaves usually represent spring, and when I am doing timing for a client, then when the ace of wands comes up, then it usually represents springtime. Okay, so that's the ace of wands. We're going to go to the 2 of wands now, and as I mentioned before, these cards are very simplistic. They were drawn by a woman that wasn't a great artist, but she was very inspired to do this. And so some of the figures look a little archaic. They look, you know, medieval, something like that. Well, don't, you know, let that put you off. Basically, the 2 of wands means somebody who is really getting their project started. They're weighing the pros and cons. They're trying to make decisions. Should I go get that bank loan? Shouldn't I get that bank loan? Should I bring other people on board? Should I have a partner? So the 2 of wands basically represents someone who is needing to put some final ideas into their project. The 3 of wands, to me, is a card of cooperation. So the project has gotten started. Basically, it means there may be other people involved. It may be a group effort or at least a partnership. This person is standing there looking out to sea, waiting for their ship to come in, basically. They may be waiting for materials to arrive. They may have to work with other people in order to accomplish what is needed for the enterprise or the project. It's as simple as that. We get to number 4, and the number 4 of wands is considered one of the marriage cards. You can see people are celebrating. It looks like, you know, some kind of canopy there, but it basically means that all the work that has been done with the ace, 2, and 3 of wands is coming into culmination. A solid foundation has been established. So it's time to sit back, celebrate, have a party, just enjoy and go along for the ride. And this could be a party with other people, obviously. It's hard to party alone, but some people can do that. But it's time of enjoying the fruits of the labor. The next step of the project, or the creativity involved, is the 5 of wands. 5s usually are a more difficult card throughout all the minor arcana suits. You see that, you know, these young boys are kind of jousting with the sticks. Are they, you know, friendly? Are they playing? Or is it, you know, are they fighting? Is it competitive? This card does have a lot to do with whoever is getting the reading, and if they've started the project, usually that means there's a lot of activity around them. Some of it may not be pleasant. It could mean arguments, trying to get things sorted out. Someone having to deal with competition, having to deal with, you know, getting their niche, so to speak, established. And it's not always an easy thing. And it could mean working with others in a way that sometimes brings up unpleasant times, but not always. It could also represent, and if you get kind of an intuitive feeling, it just represents a lot of activity, a lot of work being done, things being moved around, people finding their own place within the organization or the project, or even someone having to delegate to sort out the mess. The Six of Wands is an interesting card. I like to call it the writer's card. It's a card of achievement after the hard work of the five, sorting through everything. Then there's a feeling of a job well done, but you know, there's still a lot of work to do. But it's one being recognized for their achievements, and it is a time of oh, what do I want to say? Just really, really kind of basking in the attaboys or the kudos, so to speak. Definitely, it can represent a promotion at work, or even something at home that everybody gathers around and says, wow, you're so awesome. The hero, the conquering hero. So that's the Six of Wands. Okay, here we go to the Seven. Now, when we looked at the Five, there were a bunch of people kind of jousting around trying to find their position. But in this card, more than any other cards in the Wands, this person is definitely having to fight off the world. They might have debtors at their door. They might have people trying to take over. This could be a hostile takeover in a business. But definitely this means stand your ground. Don't let anybody pound you into the ground or intimidate you. So it could be a card of someone trying to intimidate the querent. And remember, querent means the client or the person you're reading. If you're reading for yourself, most definitely, you really have to set boundaries and not back down. And this can be done in a very positive way, but it's a card of don't give up. You know, you're really on a roll now. Don't give up. Don't let others push you around. The Eight of Wands for some kind of create a question. Are these wands stuck? Are they suspended in air, or are they moving? I like to think of them as moving. I like to think of the Eight of Cups as everything is in order, everything is moving ahead smoothly, and it is really a good indication that one is on the right track, and they just have to look forward to reaping the rewards down the road. They're not there quite yet, but most definitely with the Eight of Wands, then whatever it is that is going on, whatever the project, building a house, whatever it is, you know, definitely just keep going. Don't give up. Don't get tired of it. Don't get bored. Keep your motivation. The Nine of Wands is an interesting card. You know, we've got somebody bandaged here and they look like they've been through the wars, and anybody who started a business knows that. You know, there's a time for rest, but you can't rest for long. You know, you can look back and look over your achievements, you know, represented by the wands behind him, but there's still some wands in front of him. So this person, the Nine of Wands, is taking a breather, but once again, they're going to keep going. They still have some obstacles to overcome, and movement is so important. This is a card of activity. Remember, fire is activity, it's passion, it's creativity, fired by the sun, and this is a time for rest, just for a little bit, but take a breather, delegate what you have to delegate, and then keep going. Ten of Wands, usually the tens represent culmination and happy, 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 but not so with the Ten of Wands, because you can see this person, even though they're close to their goal, you can see in the lower right hand corner of the card, they're getting close to their goal, and they've got everything in order, but there's still that final push. There's still that, gotta get there, you know, just another mile to cross the finish line. And can I do it? Sure, you can do it. It just takes stamina, and it takes moving ahead and crossing the finish line, and then one can let go of their burden, so to speak. So it is a card of someone carrying a lot of burden, but it's all worth it because the end is in sight. Now we're getting in the court cards, and the court cards, just like in the playing card deck, they have different characters on them. For example, in the playing card deck, you have your jack, well, you have your pages. There are no knights in the playing card deck, but you have your king and queen. It's just the way it worked out for the playing cards. But when you get a page of wands, this is called the message card. This could mean that a message is coming, a very urgent message or a very important message of some sort, but it could be coming via a telephone, a written letter, an email, a telegram. Somehow that message is on its way. Now, pages always represent seeds, and like if you planted a seed in the ground, it begins to sprout, and that's what the pages represent. You know, they represent the seeds beginning to sprout and starting to see, you know, the little plant growing, and they very often as well represent children. So with the wands, very often the coloring of people represented by the wands are blonde to red hair, blue to green eyes, very fair in coloring. Now, they are usually fire signs, so that is Aries and Sagittarius, and I know there's a third one, but I'll come up with it in a minute. Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. How could I forget Leo? I've got many Leos in my family. Now, this card could represent a child who's very creative and talkative and very, they attract people to them, and it could be a dark-haired, dark-eyed child. You just, once again, have to go with your intuition and see what works best. But when I read the court cards, I usually go by the element, and it has always served me well. Now, whether the coloring stays the same is something else. Now, like I say, my daughter is a Leo, and she is very blonde red, very beautiful long hair, wavy, and yet she typifies the typical Leo. Now, my brother, who's older, has very, very dark hair and brown eyes. So he does not follow the typical coloring of a Leo, but it just goes to show you that there can be, you know, different coloring assigned to a sun sign, and you usually go by your intuition or your gut feeling. And this is where you have to start using that intuition and going into your clairvoyance and closing your eyes and just seeing, you know, if someone says, you know, when's my love going to come? And you start seeing the court cards, you're going to have to use your intuition. Is he dark-haired? Is he light-haired? You know, what color are his eyes? And the same vice versa with a woman. And pretty much go with that. And you might be asking yourself, well, that's still very confusing. But in time, trust me, in time, you're really going to start getting a feel for these things. In the beginning, you know, you look at it and you go, I don't have any idea. But you will if you just relax and let the pictures flow in and let the words flow in and let your intuition do the work for you. Very often, though, this is either a child or a card of messages coming. Here's the knight, and knights always represent movement in the tarot, activity, movement of some sort, and this is one of the move cards. So whenever I see a knight of wands, and if I see other indicators of a move like the 8 of cups, then I will mention to my client or querent, are you moving, or have you just moved? Because it definitely looks, if it's in front of you, like in your future, it definitely looks like a move is in order, but it's always a choice. You never tell someone you're going to move for sure. unless they're wanting to know. But if they look at you like, well, I wasn't planning on one, you're not going to sit there and tell them, oh yeah, you're going to move for sure, and then upset them, you know, because maybe their life is going along fine. It can represent a young man. The knights usually represent like early 20s to 35, someone who's very charismatic. I kind of call the Knight of Wands here today, gone tomorrow. They're hard to tie down. They're very fiery. They can have a quick temper, but then, you know, they feel bad and then they apologize right away. But when the Knight of Wands comes up in a reading regarding love, you'll want to, you know, take a look and see if this person seems like they're really honest, if they're coming from the right place, or if they're just Mr. or Ms. right now, if it has to do with a love relationship. And if it represents a young man with lighter hair, or a Leo, or Sagittarius, or an Aries, and the cards around it, we'll be talking more about this in the weeks to come, then you're going to get a better idea of what this means. Doesn't mean the Knight of Wands is a bad person, but they are very, when they walk in a room, people usually notice. Here we come to the Queen of Wands, very mysterious lady. She too is charismatic. She is, what I want to say, not secretive, but she's very wise. You see the black cat in front, and she knows things that other people don't. She could have been the village herbal lady, you know, the healer in olden times. She's very often a married woman. She's got children. She rules very firmly. She's not mean or stern, but she can be when she has to be. Once again, people are attracted to her, and she usually has a sunny disposition. So this represents a mature woman. It could be a woman in her 20s to 30s, or even older. So once again, you have to go within and see what the card says to you. I very often see this as a mother or a grandmother card when it comes up in a reading. Last but not least, we've got the King of Wands. Very, very interesting character. This can represent a person who is very learned, very educated, and the Queen of Wands can be very educated. But he does like to rule his nest. You know, if he's a Leo, he's the king of the jungle. He's very benevolent, but he expects people to march to his tune. He can be very forceful when he wants to be. And again, this person can have a temper, but overall they're usually trying to be very, very kind, you know, but they still expect people to follow them. If this is a person running for a public office, again, a very magnetic, charismatic personality. And the king can represent someone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and up. When I get to a grandfather figure, I usually go to the emperor. The emperor kind of, to me, represents somebody who's the matriarch or the grandfather, great-grandfather, that sort of thing. This man is very often married and very devoted to his family. So those are the wands. Play with them, look at your quick reference sheet, look at your handout that I gave you. If you want, make notes on your cards. You know, some people don't want to deface their cards, but it really helps sometimes if you take a deck and say, this is my learning deck, and you can write some of the meanings on the cards. That really, really helps people in the beginning to learn. If you don't want to do that, use your quick reference sheet and then put them down and see, what kind of a feeling do I get from this card? What does it speak to me? How does it speak to me? What does it say to me? Some of the wands, like the 2s and the 3s, can be confusing for some people. You get into the higher numbers and they seem more self-evident, but the first 3, other than the first 2 and 3, you know, are a little bit confusing. So if you get them down right now, then you're not going to keep going back to your book and saying, what was that meaning again? So again, we're going to be going over the court cards time and time again to help you with it. And as we do readings in class, then you're going to get a better feel for what it is that is coming to you. And remember, again, you don't have to be tense, you don't have to try and memorize everything perfectly. Just have a gist for the element, have a feeling for what the wands represent. And if you're very, very careful in the beginning and learn this instead of rushing right through it, then you're going to have it forever. But if you rush right through all the minor cards or their elements, or you don't learn the basics, then you're forever going to be going back and trying to remember. So that's why I'm wanting to go slower with this class, and I'm really wanting to people to understand what the element of wands mean. So that's the end of the wands. The next movie coming will be the cups. You're always welcome to move ahead if you want and read your book or look at your cups. And then we'll be doing the pentacles, and last but not least, the swords. Have a great weekend, and that's it. Thank you.